All righty, welcome everybody. Hi, and welcome to Event Ops, a brand new series from our team at Event Marketer, where we have conversations about event execution, event operations, and event production with the agency operations leaders who make so much of the industry's magic happen. Today, we're going to talk load-in, we're going to talk permits, we're going to talk hard costs, and more. With the people who oversee the event industry's front lines. I'm excited to have with us two of those people. Bill Sembor is the Senior Vice President of Operations at global experience agency Sparks. He's got more than 20 years of experience producing experiences for some of the biggest brands on the planet. He oversees everything from fabrication and material procurement to workflow with internal departments, external team members, vendors, and suppliers. I'm sure the list goes on. Bill, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for that intro.
Excellent. We also have Greg Wamsley, Vice President of Production and Sustainability Lead at experiential marketing agency Mosaic. Greg has led production on more than 150 events across 4 continents, including 3 Olympics. He's passionate about producing events that are accessible and inclusive for people with disabilities, and he's helping Mosaic make progress integrating sustainability practices into client programs. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Jessica. Happy to be here.
Excellent. And before I introduce Matt, I just want to say there should be some kind of Olympic medal for people who activate at Olympics, like for the industry. I feel like that's a thing. So if anybody's watching and they want to create Olympic medals for event marketers, I think they are highly deserving. And finally, our friend and my co-host today and our partner on the Event Ops series, Matt Andrews, is the Senior Vice President at Highmark Outdoor, a leading provider of multi and single-story structures for event and experiential agencies and their clients. And Matt oversees all operations initiatives and manages a team of 14 ops professionals in the field. We're excited to have all 3 of you with us today. Matt, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, Bill and Greg. Great to see you and looking forward to chatting.
Excellent. All right. And so we are also happy to have all of you joining us live here today. You might catch us on demand later. So thank you for chiming in and jumping into the conversation with us. It's a super important one, and we're excited to be having it. And with that, since we know how busy operations teams are and all of you event marketers are, we're going to jump right in. And Bill, I'll ask you to kick it off. Experiential marketing only gets more complicated, right? Attendee expectations only get higher. Events only have elevated, especially post-pandemic. So have things like load-in, setup, load-out, all of those operational pieces. And I'm wondering how you're changing, how you're evolving and growing and managing your department in a way that handles all of that change.
Like all in the industry, we've all had to wear multiple hats. We've been asked to do that on the operations side now. Our engineering teams, our project managers, they don't just have to be experts in fabrication, but understanding technology, AV, interactive components, which really helps in that load-in so that we can get the teams together, start to collaborate, and get a plan early on as we move forward. They're really, we are shape changers when it comes to the event industry. We've taken them, we've evolved with the industry and the needs of our designers and our clients to be able to hit those short load in and load outs that are as important now as the load ins are.
Yeah, Greg, is that resonating with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody, as Bill said, is wearing multiple hats at any given time and trying to continue to evolve our education and keep up with the various trends ongoing. Another piece that we've done, and I'm sure Bill and his team have done the same, is hired specialists with a range of diverse backgrounds. So we have people like from my background coming from global events, complex logistics operations, to people who really specialize in builds or specialize in hospitality. And what we try to do is on projects, suit the need of that project and provide that project team with those experts so that we're being the most efficient we can with the in-house expertise that we've got to ensure that we're delivering on the ask, but we can be efficient and effective and move quickly as we need to.
Yeah, and I want to jump into the question of timing from a timing standpoint, because lead time was always short. It's kind of the telltale signature of the event industry, right? Every client wants it done as quickly as possible, but I think post-pandemic, we just hear so much about those timelines getting more and more condensed and tighter. So it seems like you have less time to execute, although there are many fixed components in the industry that remain static. It still takes the same amount of time to ship something from Vegas to Philly as it always had. So I'm wondering how ops teams are managing the larger experiences that may come with those tighter and shorter timeframes. And I wonder, Greg, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, sure. We are seeing a lot of this, and more, it seems, even this year than we did last year. And we've got an example right now where we were briefed on a project 2.5 weeks ago, and 2 weeks from now, we will be delivering a brand launch. So a 4-week window really from start to finish. I think for us, one of the most important things that we do is we have a very strong creative team at Mosaic. And right when we get these short timeline opportunities is really buddying up with them, taking a look at what the ask is, what our opportunities are to deliver, and ensuring that we are in lockstep and we, as the production team, can provide guardrails from which they can then create and ideate, and still providing space for them to come up with innovative ideas and solutions, but really keeping in check the realities of the time and the budget that we have to deliver. And then I think the other piece that we do is really focus on where we need to, local vendors and leveraging their local expertise. Of course, we have our go-to, we have our preferred vendors and a lot of the things we want to do ourselves, but also know the value of those local connections, local contacts, and those extra couple days that you do gain by engaging or having a mix of your preferred vendors as well as some local vendors to help with those last minute asks.
Bill, your thoughts?
Along the same lines, the story is as old as time. Production and operations would always love, more time to be able to execute. But I do agree that, time frames have become compressed to the point that there's not much left to give. We put our operations team, again, lock and step with our design team at the beginning of a project life cycle, much like Greg said, to be there as a, support and collaborate with the design efforts to be able to provide that vision, but also, keep reality and the budget in line so we can deliver and be successful at those events.
And Matt, talk about your double-decker structures, obviously complex things to set up, and how those have been affected by tight timelines.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Again, with being here with Greg and Bill and hearing about collaboration and hearing about, managing expectations and things of that nature, because these guys are the ones that really make the magic happen. As a supplier, a vendor, if you will, to the industry, we do some things internally. For example, we do our pull and preps on the back end, right? So when a project goes out, everybody loves it, comes back home, we're refurbing, cleaning things up, making sure everything is working in order, and before we're putting it back on the shelf, right? So once it's on the shelf, we can quickly, if Greg calls and says, hey, man, this thing's got to go in 2 weeks, we can pull that off the shelf. So really, it's just a pull and prep from there. The prep has already happened, really, right? It's put on a truck. As far as timing in the field goes, obviously, we're sending supervisors, folks like that. They're all certified to drive the equipment and things like that nature. But, we're also smart about the way a lot of our projects are not just one truck, right? So it could be multiple trucks, flatbeds or dry vans or whatever. So we try to bring them in. We try to curate them, right? So we know what we're doing day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, right? So we have milestones that we're setting. So our guys in the field are collaborating with our guys back here along with the client. Here's what's happening on day 1. Here's what's happening on day 2. So just kind of having a great plan, right? Having the material ready to go on the shelf. That's how we try to compress the timeline as much as possible. But again, hearing these guys talk about expectations and sharing that with the client, being transparent about it is so important.
Yes. And Greg, I have a question for you about cities and permitting, because it seems like there's just been an explosion post-pandemic of cities that are really seeing the economic value of bringing events into their cities. Many who traditionally always have, but might be elevating that. And I'm wondering what you're seeing in terms of permitting, dealing with city halls. Is that getting better? Is it just as tough as it always was? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both, actually. I have found that a number of the cities that we work with, if they weren't already, took the opportunity during the COVID slow period in the events industry, or no period, to go digital, and streamline their services a little bit. So that has helped a lot. There's a number of cities now that We can submit digitally all approvals. We don't have to go in person with floor plans or site maps or anything like that for our permits. And that's allowed us to be more effective, more efficient, especially when we're not local to that community. However, I have also noticed, and Bill, I don't know if you've seen the same, for those where we're doing outdoor events and we are on kind of greenfield sites where we're creating the venue, the health departments are showing up a lot more than they used to, especially to inspect food and beverage. Also, the temporary building permit officers are showing up more often. But we are finding, certainly from the health department, we are getting more and more visits, more and more inspections, which is all fine, of course, all for the greater good and to ensure that the event is safe for everyone. But it is certainly a strain on resources to take the time to have them, host them, walk them around, address any challenges. We're seeing a little bit of both, right? So the paperwork is maybe a little faster, but the on-site, I'm seeing more presence and more time for that.
Agreed. That's we've hired people who have the expertise of getting the permitting through, and with the digital access, that's helped out. But finding the times, and for the most part, Greg, that when those inspections come and the walkthroughs want to happen, it's always at the worst time, of an event, or right before a press piece or some photo shoot or training right before the opening. So we do see that. We've kind of created teams that are just there to handle that, not knowing if we're going to get 5 inspectors or 1 for the day. And that's something that we've had to adjust for lately in the event world.
Just when you thought your job could have no more components to it, add that to the list, right? I want to talk about costs because obviously a very important topic. And, we at Event Marketer, we tracked a lot of data over the course of the post-pandemic few years, and costs were up. No secret there. Definitely up in 2022 and 2023. But I'm wondering if you feel like, have we hit the ceiling? If not, where are costs coming down? Where might they just at least not be going up any further? And Bill, can you kick us off?
Yeah, on our end, we think that we feel that we've hit the ceiling. Okay. That being said, that there's a long runway of a plateau of where we're at, that these costs are going to remain constant, probably at least for another 12 to 18 months, until we start seeing a change in the economic factors. And we've been happy to see that the growth in the economic world has been consistent. It's also feeding the supply chain for us. So we're not seeing the shortages we've seen in the past, not spiking prices, but we also, what happened was all of the back end of those hard costs, labor increases, the labor cost increases are not going away. So those prices are remaining consistent. We expect that to last for a longer time into the future, and hoping the second half of 2025 will bring relief to both us and our clients.
Greg, thoughts?
Yeah, aligned with Bill. I think we're seeing the predictability on materials, certainly, as well as availability of those, and no real surprises there. I still do get surprised on occasion on labor or shipping rates, still being higher than what I would have hoped or expect, and I wouldn't say they're necessarily increasing, as Bill said, but still they're at a level that we have just not seen before. And I don't think, and Bill, I don't know if you've seen, but I haven't seen the client budgets increase at the same rate as the out-of-pocket, the hard costs have increased. So we're constantly challenged with that, as how do we do even the same as what we did before with those higher rates and cost of labor, cost of shipping, cost of material, whatever it may be. Food and beverage, I think still totally depends on even menu and selection, but still seeing some increases there. But as Bill mentioned, kind of going with the markets and the same as what we see in our grocery bills as well, right? In some of those key areas as well. Certain things are more expensive at certain times, certain menu choices, but it does seem to be leveling off, but certainly not decreasing either.
Yeah, agreed, Greg. That's the budgets, and it's understandable. Just like just like your household, they don't increase as much as the cost of things. So being able to provide that memorable experience, and what the client's expectations are, with dollars that are not following inflation, has been a challenge.
You're reminding me of the great egg shortage of 2021 that I'm trying to remove from my memory. Matt, what about your side? And are you seeing anything stabilizing, coming down? What are you seeing out there?
I would say it's stabilized. I would agree with Bill that it's plateaued. So as a manufacturer, obviously we're making systems. There were some really volatile costs that were happening right after the pandemic, especially with regard to aluminum and things of that nature. That has leveled off. Now we have also doubled our inventory during that time, right? So that I think our costs are about to go down, right? So we've got a lot of inventory that's available. I think the hard costs that we can't control, we've gotten better at what we do, right? So I kind of go back to my original answer originally. So, we're putting things on the shelf done, right? So that we're managing those costs better. We're getting better with our product. The hard costs that we can't control, things like gas pricing. I think freight was really crazy about a year ago, right? That I've seen come down a little bit, right? Some transportation things, obviously with gas prices and diesel prices that are coming down. So I'd agree with Bill. It's leveled off. We've gotten a little smarter about the way we're managing costs and deploying it to the world.
Greg, I've got a question for you about venue shortages, and that seemed to just happen overnight post-pandemic, where so many of the venues that many long-running event programs have depended on just booked out years in advance or just got snatched up. So, we're looking at key markets like New York, Las Vegas, Austin, Nashville, and I wonder if that's pushing you to recommend other markets, look at other venues. And then somewhat related to that question is accessibility, because that's something you think about, a part of that equation as you're making decisions about what venues and cities to use?
Yeah, so that's the first piece there. I do think we have clients that have seen that trend and are booking. We're supporting one client right now to book both 2026 and 2028 venues for their event as we speak. So in doing that, they get a little more flexibility and have a little more control of where they're going to end up. But we are also seeing, as we talked about with short timelines, most of the projects are coming up and they want, we see a lot of, we don't want to be in a hotel ballroom. We don't want to be in a convention center necessarily. We want something unique, but we still want a big audience, and we'd love to explore a new city. And we just don't find those unique venues as often as we would like to, especially once we go out of those key markets, as you mentioned. And that does cause challenges for us. Of course, we'd like to explore these new markets, but they also come with challenges oftentimes in the supplier and the vendor network that are local to those as well. And they're just not as well suited or well set up to support large events that require a lot of temporary infrastructure. With respect to accessibility, yes, always certainly a thought, a consideration in ensuring that we're not just meeting the minimum standard from an accessibility and inclusion standpoint, but also for me, it's accessibility and inclusion, but also sustainability, right? And taking an event maybe out of where the core of that company is, at the B2B event and it's internal, going to a remote location from where the bulk of their employees are may be great. However, we're adding a huge amount of travel on, and if carbon footprint is a priority for them, it's something that we need to factor. So I think it's having that conversation around accessibility, really having that conversation around sustainability and the carbon footprint, as well as availability of venues and what we can actually achieve in those markets.
Yeah, and Bill, I'm going to shift gears with a question for you about trade shows, because we've been so excited to see the trade show industry bounce back this year, and we're thinking about the 2024 exhibits in comparison to pre-COVID exhibits, which were, big and impressive in their own right. But I'm curious how they've evolved. And of course, I have to ask, because everyone wants to know how in the heck you poured concrete, a concrete foundation for Google at CES this year. But if you could give us a sense of just how those big footprints and those big experiences are looking now. And then if you want to share any insights about the Google program, we'd be happy to hear.
Sure. What we've seen, the second half of 2023 and 2024 are the large booths returning that we were seeing in 2019 and the boom in the trade show industry again. Just large scale architecture, the need for additional meeting spaces, and really looking to find that really unique special experience within each of the trade show booths that is memorable and has makes the attendee feel that it's the necessity of their journey to get to that that point. And that's really been something we've been seeing in 2024. Floors, the show floors are selling out. So with Matt and the decks, we're seeing a lot more double decks, even just enough for 1 and 2 room meeting rooms to be able to give a space to break away to and have those meeting rooms. Separating the one-on-one interactive time on the floor from meeting spaces has been something, so that that's really more of a commodity in business, B2B meeting space in the back, and all of the photo opportunities and memorable experiences out front for everyone to be able to enjoy. And then to talk a little bit about that concrete pad out in Las Vegas, it has it's been something that's kind of been a great pet project that our designers and things have loved. It's something we had seen at the con expos and construction shows where they've laid certain amounts of concrete, but not to the detail that we've gotten into. We've worked with the vendor to really push the limits, to create architecture into the concrete with pony walls and our ramps and cut steps and channeling all of the electrical underneath. It's been fun. It takes, thank God for quick dry additives to it and heavy machinery when it leaves. It takes about 5 days to shape and pour and get that done. And it takes less than 16 hours to break it up and get it back to the recycling plant at the end of the event. So
wow,
kind of a fun one. We learn every year from it, and then try to push the envelope the following year.
Incredible. Industry legend. Greg, I want to circle back for a minute to talk a little bit more about sustainability, because the ops team so often has the responsibility in the execution of fulfilling an event program's sustainability objectives. So I'm curious, this is something we've definitely seen at Event Marketer, a changing sentiment over the years, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, in terms of our clients asking for more sustainable programs. And then how are you working within the context of operations to make those objectives come to life?
Yeah, this is something we've been seeing, as you said, clients have been talking about it for years, but it does seem like there's been a shift, and they truly care, or they truly mean it. Not that they didn't care before, but they truly mean it now. And they have specific mandates, reporting requirements, whatever it may be, that really they are forcing upon us as well to deliver on. We're focusing on a few different key areas. We've developed that's part of my role now, is quite a robust approach. We've got a 5-pillar approach to creating events and experiences sustainably. And that really involves buy-in from all stakeholders and leveraging a number of tools that we've been able to develop, from a production guide to a checklist for our teams, measurement and reporting tools, and really following this kind of step-by-step guide. We're actually in the process of certifying for ISO 20121 certification as we speak as well. So really pouring a lot of resource and focus and attention into this to ensure that we are able to deliver on the needs and exceed expectations of our clients. But we're also using vendors and suppliers like Highmark and others who have these turnkey solutions. And we're not building everything one-off necessarily, really looking at a multi-year, multi-use strategy for all of the assets that we're investing in with the client to get the most bang for their buck. And we're actually saving money for a lot of our clients, but also doing it in a sustainable way by not reinventing the wheel every time, recreating something every single time, and leveraging those turnkey systems that already exist, solutions that already exist, like the products that Matt and team carry.
Yeah, the saving the money piece, that always seems to be right. That's the wall that you run into eventually, right? It seems that clients know it's going to be more expensive. So are you able to overcome some of that sentiment just with, it sounds like you're able to save them a little money along the way sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of the time it does come back down to establishing that priority right off the bat, right from the first meeting, and then designing with that in mind. And we have found, and actually there's a study from the Event Industry Council that says programs that do develop a sustainability strategy, carry it all the way through from beginning to end, they can see savings of 20 to 30% on their event budgets. So it's not going to be in every area. That certainly would not be true, but there are a lot of decision strategies and kind of things that we can do that really do save money, but really require an investment up front typically, And then you reap the benefits of that if you can use that asset long term.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Matt, can you talk a little bit about your Highmark structures, because they're inherently sustainable, but how are you approaching sustainability?
Yeah, the tenets of sustainability, reduce, reuse, recycle. I mean, that's been kind of fundamental part of our DNA from the beginning, not necessarily because we meant to do that. It was that's just how we've gone about doing business. So we build systems, right? So everything we do is on a grid. For example, the Event Max product, which is the outdoor double deck product, single story or multi-story. It's based on a 16 by 16 grid, right? So it's 5 meter by 5 meter. What it allows us to do as a manufacturer is we carry all the same length of beams and deck panels and wall panels and ceiling panels. So it's easy to reconfigure, right? It's easy to send out in a different configuration, bring it back, clean it up, and somebody else gets to use it, right? So that's really kind of reusing, recycling, and reducing right there, right? But Greg, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, there's always this kind of misnomer that you have a fully custom, crazy one-off build in a systems booth, and they're not mutually exclusive. But what we say is the underpinnings can be that highly sustainable product, and then you kind of are flexing that budget or using some of the things with higher carbon footprints on the outside, right, to make it look like something custom and beautiful. But again, Greg, thank you for the pitch, and I felt like I was pitching a little bit myself there, but great question. It's important, right? It's important to the environment and to our clients. So we're happy to tell that story.
Excellent. Well, we've just got a couple minutes left, believe it or not. And I wanted to throw one final question out to the group. And you can feel free to leave client and event names out to protect the innocent. But just between us and everyone watching, wondering if you can share a story from the last year that really just worked out, but you might have thought along the way that you might need a little bit of therapy getting through it, but it worked out. There was a challenge. You're proud of how you and your team and your agency, overcame that. And Bill, I'll put you on the hot spot, of course, because you just took a sip of water. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
Lucky enough, in my career, I could run through stories for hours for you. I'm sure. This past year, I can't say it was a single event or a single client, but the fall or the spring of 2023, we had a large amount of short turnaround projects that probably caused 2 weeks of staring at the ceiling, running through every scenario that would derail one of these projects. We were lucky enough to continue to utilize our partners, our shops across the network, and deliver on all of them. But it's a time that, going into this spring, we've looked at those events coming forward, kind of asked the teams, if you can buy us another week, it would buy me, a couple more hours of sleep during that time. And we'd appreciate that. So, if you want some older ones, I can give you ones, but I've been lucky enough not to have a single event that really put me in that situation this past year.
I feel like somebody should do a moth story hour just for event marketers to share their tales of overcoming challenges. Matt, do you have anything in mind?
I'm with Bill. I have several in mind,
Sure.
But we could spend hours on this. But one that jumps in my head, we did a festival downtown Washington, D.C., right? And so because it was right in front of the Capitol building, obviously it's a very busy area, a lot of security, things like that. So all the trucks were marshaled at RFK Stadium. If anybody knows D.C. knows that that's kind of a bit of a ways away, right? So they would jump on the squawk box and they'd bring your trucks up and close streets and things like that to get them in. So both of and it was very curated as when this could happen, tight timeline. So both installs started at 9 p.m., one on one day and then one the next day, and basically just go until it was done. We ended up finishing at like 1 o'clock the next day. But when I got back to the VRBO, between structure number 1 and structure number 2, they were doing all this road construction outside of my room, right? I'm good with being a vampire and just doing it, at night. But so and air hammers and everything else. I slept not at all, and then went in to do the 9 p.m. set the next day. And I found that sleeping on we have these 8x8 wall crates for the big French doors, and they actually make a pretty good bed. So every break, when the guys would take a break, I would lay down and sleep for a couple hours, or not, a couple minutes. And it was a long one.
Bless. Oh my goodness, Matt. Wow. Greg, what do you got?
There's one that comes to mind with a client that we had. It was a 3-day event. And this one's quite in the weeds of a show. 3-day event for award winners for a multinational company, which had brought in award winners from around the globe. And it culminated in a gala and award show event. And if there's anyone on my team listening, they know exactly where I'm going with this one. The entire show was built about probably 90 minutes of runtime for this award show. There was a mix of musical acts, artistic performances, speeches from the company's leadership, and then a recognition moment for each of these award winners. And our design team had developed about 90 minutes of content, custom content, animated content for the screens that were the backing to the stage. Well, during rehearsal, our final hour of rehearsal, we had our headline talent on, and there was a fire in her trailer, which happened to be just out back of the building of the stage. And its main power were plugged into the building power. So of course we had to shut our breaker off, which shut the stage, shut the lights, shut the audio system, shut everything down. So our headline performer rehearsed without the in-ears, without any backing tracks, with her cell phone as her light. And that was fun enough. But when power came back on, took about 45 minutes until everything was cleared, power was back on, and our AV team noticed that the software in which the entire show, about 1 terabyte of content, had been built and queued to basically hit play, and it runs synced to all the audio files. It no longer was speaking to the video board. We had lost connection. They were on the phone with the supplier, the software developer. Oh, we've never seen this before kind of issue. Don't know what to do. Try turning it on and back on type of solution, but we don't have anything else for you. An hour or two went by. We are now seeing doors open time coming pretty close. Still no connection. All we've got on the screen is a Windows background and nothing else. No control of the video boards. And we went to Plan B. And in those moments, you're sweating a little bit of it. I don't know how we're going to recover this, but it was 2 new laptops and screen mirroring. So the most basic operation we could do with a VLC player on the one, trying to play as many videos as possible. Our show caller had a real tough time. They went from a pretty good plan to hit play and kind of let everything run through with a few calls, to having to count down every audio and video file to be exactly synced, 190 unique files, trying to sync and have someone hit play on both the audio and video on 2 different devices at once. And our iMag cameras, they also couldn't go to their hold screen, which was a rotating trophy. So any breaks where we weren't showing iMag, they actually had to zoom in on an event sign that we placed close to them that had a picture of the trophy. So that then became the hold screen. So a lot of manual solutions that we were not intending. It was days and days and days of building the show and the system, all to be go manual at the time. But we pulled it off. We announced every winner in the right order, by region, by name, alphabetically. I don't think if you didn't know what was happening, I don't think you would have known what you were missing or what was going on behind the scenes. But I think everybody lost a few years off their life that night, just trying to figure out how we would do this with 190 unique video and audio files to sync exactly at the same time.
So you never want to do it again, but it's like amazing that you can do it, right? It's your fun.
Yeah, I had blocked it out of my memory, to be honest, and I don't want to think about it again. But
there's therapy.
Greg, you get the gold medal for the exhibit story, for the event story of the year.
Well, I'd happily take the silver or bronze this year, to be honest.
Well, and to your point, like you said, audience members probably didn't know what was going on, right? And that's the win. So congratulations. Yeah, I'm into this gold medal idea. I think it's got legs. Well, we are out of time. So I just want to thank you, Bill from Sparks, and Greg from Mosaic, for joining us. We think it's really important to talk about these topics and the changes in the industry. This is a great discussion. So thank you for your time. And you can learn more about Bill and Greg's agencies at wearesparks.com and mosaic.com. And a big thanks to our partners, Highmark Outdoor and Senior Vice President Matt Andrews, for helping out as co-host today. Thank you, Matt. And you can learn more about them at highmarktech.com. Our next Event Ops conversation takes place in April. We're already looking forward to that, so look for more information on that soon. We want to just shout out the ops teams today. We want to say have a great day. Keep doing what you do so well. You are the glue that keeps the industry together and moving forward, and we appreciate you. So thank you, and take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.